jump into it. Thing number one, Bitcoin predicts the Trump win. We're talking, Gary. Is the US going to be more friendly to sound money? Thing number one, Bitcoin's crystal ball. Trump wins and crypto surges. Gary, take it away.
All right, so there's a lot going on here. First of all, a week ago, the day before the election, we had Bitcoin at $67,000. As we are talking about this right now, $89,500 or so. That is more than a 30% move in the week. So let's talk about the big winners from last Tuesday. Big winner, of course, President Trump, former President Trump and President-elect Trump.
Right.
He took the popular vote by millions of votes. He gained 312 electoral votes. That was a pretty big win. He swept the swing states. It looks like the Republicans are likely to have 53 seats in the Senate, which means the Democrats have handed over control of the upper house. And while we don't have a final tally in the House, every day it looks more and more likely that the Republicans are going to maintain a very small majority in the House of Representatives. So, really good week for the Republicans, but an even better week for Bitcoin. And, it's really important to note here, President Trump, when he was campaigning, he went to the Bitcoin conference. He went to Bitcoin meetings. He flat out told Bitcoiners he wanted their vote, he wanted their support, that he wanted to reduce regulatory burdens on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and talked about establishing a United States Bitcoin reserve. And I have no idea if they're going to do it or not, but there are talks that the US government may be looking at buying 1 million Bitcoin. You think, okay, well, is that a lot? Does it matter? The maximum amount of Bitcoin that will ever be mined is 21 million. So if the US government buys 1 million of that, that is enormous, especially since it would be all incremental. At this point, about 95% of all Bitcoin that will ever be mined has already been mined. So huge, huge winner there. But it wasn't just President Trump. The Bitcoin community was very, very politically savvy and aggressive in identifying politicians that were both friendly and unfriendly to Bitcoin, and they absolutely brought their candidates into office. They campaigned very hard. They donated money. And the Bitcoin community, from what I've seen, it looked like they had a perfect record. The really anti-Bitcoin people were tossed out of office and replaced with pro-Bitcoin people. One other thing that I want to convey, because it's very, very important, is our polls, the regular election polling over the last 3 elections has been abysmal. It has been inaccurate. Some would say by design, some would say intentionally, some would say polling is hard. I don't know. But the point is, you really couldn't see what was happening looking at the polls. But what I was doing on Monday and Tuesday was I was watching the price of certain assets. And so it wasn't just the prediction markets. In the election prediction markets, by the way, they nailed it. Those prediction markets were completely accurate. But beyond that, I was watching the price of Bitcoin. It was very clear that Bitcoin was a referendum on the election. And you could see Bitcoin running up, into the election results. And then as we started to get positive results for former and now President-elect Trump, Bitcoin started to run, and it has done nothing but go up since then. You could also do things like track DJT. That is the ticker for President Trump's media company. That stock was up more than 10% in the aftermarket on Tuesday. We were tracking things like currencies, interest rates, basically financial markets and prediction markets all over the world were telling you this was going to be a big red win. And so, it was a huge win for the Bitcoin community and the crypto community. And because it wasn't just President Trump, because they moved so many antagonistic politicians out of office, I think we're going to see some potentially positive Bitcoin legislation in the first couple of years.
Gary, you talk about obviously President-elect Trump coming into office. We know Fed shakeup might not necessarily be a guarantee. You talked about any move towards sound money principles you're supportive of. If the administration does tend to move or look to move in this direction, what does that mean for Bitcoin and gold first? And then number two, I think Judy Shelton's name has been thrown around. So tell us more about her and what that means.
That's a great question, Rob. And let's start by talking about Judy Shelton. I'm a huge fan of hers. I think she's fantastic. Judy Shelton is she was nominated for a position on the Federal Reserve during President Trump's first term, and she was not confirmed by the Senate. And I believe the reason for that is because Judy Shelton is an advocate for sound money, and she likes gold, and doesn't like the fact that the fiat dollar is really backed by nothing. And so, everybody at the Federal Reserve, almost everybody, they are soft money, print and spend, MMT, that stands for modern monetary theory, Keynesians. Basically, the people who are running the Fed now all believe we can print an unlimited amount of currency for any reason and let's just run with it. Judy Shelton is in favor of more restrained spending and more care with how we treat the dollar. So, she unfortunately wasn't seated the last time around, but there are rumors, I don't know if they're true or not, that when Jerome Powell's term as Federal Reserve Chairman expires halfway through President Trump's second term, that he may nominate Judy Shelton to head up the Federal Reserve. If that would happen, that is a huge win for Bitcoin, a huge win for gold, a huge win for the United States. I would love to see somebody in favor of sound money in charge of the Federal Reserve here. The only thing that would be better would be to end the Fed, close the building, send everybody home, and let the market set the rate of interest, which is the price of risk and time. We're not going to get that, but we could get Judy Shelton. Big fan. Hope that happens. Separately from that, Rob, it's not just the U.S. government that's heading in that direction. We're seeing some great moves out of South America. El Salvador has continued to buy one Bitcoin daily. Their economy has turned around. Their crime rate has plummeted. The president there has really done a phenomenal job. And then everybody's favorite libertarian story, Javier Milei from Argentina, that huge surprise win. He is such a big Bitcoiner that they have installed Bitcoin mining machines at the central bank in Argentina. And
Wow.
that is phenomenal, right? Argentina is legendary for abusing their currency. They have defaulted their peso. They've defaulted on the peso on average every 15 years. They just print and debase it, and then they default and start all over again. They've gone from that to Bitcoin miners in Buenos Aires,
Amazing.
in official government buildings. So it's really interesting to me. The thing that is the biggest threat to fiat currency is now the thing that more and more governments are starting to say, wait a minute, this is a benefit to us. It's a benefit to our citizens. So wishing nothing but the best for El Salvador, hoping Milei's turnaround continues in Argentina and that the peso becomes more stable. And for Americans, I really hope we get a more friendly environment toward Bitcoin, less abuse of the currency. And if that means Judy Shelton as chair of the Fed in a couple of years, then you're going to want to own gold and Bitcoin. We're huge fans.
Huge fans, as we have been for quite some time here at DKI, in gold, Bitcoin, and everything just discussed there. Moves us to thing number two, Gary. We're
Wait,
talking
Rob,
about,
before
yes,
we go to thing number two, I've got this up on my screen. Bitcoin just crossed 89,000.
did it. Okay, there you go.
We should be live streaming this.
Yeah, I know. That's the next evolution of our show,
I,
podcast, whatever we're calling it.
I'm gonna tell you, our excellent interns, Andrew and Alex, they messaged me earlier today saying, I think we've got one of our things for next week. I said, is it Bitcoin? They said, yeah. I said, great. So do a price chart for that, do one of those now, and then update it every 30 minutes for the next week, and we'll just go with the last one.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's necessary.
Sorry to
Um,
interrupt you, but
no, all
prices are
good,
moving
all
here.
good. Yeah, we were told everybody we'd be tracking that. Yeah, you're right. We should have been live streaming next time for sure.
All right.